Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of Food Meets Fame. It's your favorite chef, Halima of Gazania Kitchen. So on today's episode, I'll be making mashed plantain. I know you've heard of mashed potato, both Irish and sweet potato, but this time around I'll be substituting potato with unripe plantain, and then we'll be having that with some veggies and also grilled steak. It is going to be a very exciting episode, so stay tuned. So the ingredients I'll be using today: unripe plantain. Here I have the golden penny margarine, golden penny spread, broccoli. I have my stick here for grilling, some fresh thyme, some fresh rosemary, lemon. I have carrots, green beans, golden penny, soya oil, cooking cream, onion powder, black pepper, Cajun spice, some garlic, barbecue spice. I have salt, some seasoning cube, and lastly I have some onion. So these are all what you'll be using to prepare today's delicious recipe. So to start, I'm going to be cutting some of my ripe plantain. So I won't be peeling it from the skin. I'm just going to be cutting it into chunks and we'll be boiling it with the skin. So already I have my water. The water I'll be using here on heat. So I'll start by just cutting the plantain in. For this recipe, it is best to use unripe plantain. Using ripe plantain will be overly sweetened, and that way you won't be able to season your mashed plantain the way you want or as much as you want. So the best option for that is unripe plantain. So as you can see, I'm done chopping them, and I'll just be putting them into the hot water, and I'll be seasoning it with some salt. So let's just do that carefully. So I'm just going to let this cook for 10 to 15 minutes because you want it as soft as it could be. Next is I'll be seasoning it with some salt. So I'll just be taking a little bit of my salt and just adding that in. I'm just going to cover this now and allow it to boil for 10 to 15 minutes. So while our plantain is boiling away, I would like us to season our steak. So we can season that and just leave that to marinate while we are mashing the plantain. Okay, so here we have our steak and then the ingredients, the spices we'll be using to season it. So this is the barbecue spice, black pepper, Cajun spice, onion powder, and seasoning cube. So I'll just be using one of that. Just a pinch of salt, not so much. I'll mix this together properly so they combine. So this is the steak we'll be using. I already cleaned this. So now we'll just be dry rubbing it with the spices we made and just gradually press it in like so. Then I'm turning it on the other side, and then we are doing the same thing. So after doing this, we are just going to leave this to marinate. This is now properly coated with the seasoning. So I'll just be leaving this here to rest, to just marinate. Now we are just going to go ahead and prep our vegetables. I have here some carrots. So I'm just going to be cutting those in big chunks. Alternatively, if you have baby carrots, you can just use them. You wouldn't need to chop those ones because they are tiny already. So I'm done with the carrots now, and next I'll be doing the broccoli. Cut down these bits. See, I just cut them in half. If you're looking to go for healthy meals, this is a very great alternative to that. So I think I have enough broccoli here. So I have here green beans. So what I'll be doing is, you see this pointy end, I'll be taking that off, and also here. So I'll be taking off those both ends. And that's all I'm doing for this basically. My lemon, I'll just be cutting that in half because I'll be squeezing some in my steak while cooking. So just cut this in half, and I'm just going to be setting this aside for when I need it. So let's check on our plantain to see if they are done. So it's not as soft as I want it to be yet. Remember I said the softer it is, the easier it will be to mash. So these are not mashable yet. So I'll be leaving them to cook for another 5 minutes, and we'll be coming back to check on them. So we'll be grilling our steak. It has rested well for about 10-15 minutes. So we have our pan on heat. So I'll be adding in this golden penny soya oil to the pan. Next is crushing my garlic. You can take off the skin if you want to, but it doesn't really matter. So you just take your garlic and you want to add that to your cooking oil. So I'll be using about 5 of those garlic cloves. I love to use garlic because it gives this very nice aroma and it gives your food a very nice flavor. So you shouldn't skip this part. It is very important. So I've added 5 of those cloves. So I'll gently be adding my seasoned steak. Here we go. So while that is in there, I'll be throwing in my fresh thyme, the aromatics. I have here some fresh rosemary also. Guys, you need to be in this kitchen right now. It smells very heavenly. I feel like I'm in some 5-star restaurant, you know. So I have here my margarine, golden penny margarine. So I'll be adding some of that also. And lastly, I'll be squeezing in some lemon just on top of the meat. And when we flip it over, we'll be doing the same, repeating the same process. Okay, so while the meat is cooking, what I like to do is just take some of the oil and just pour it on it like so. So my steak has cooked for 5 minutes on one side. So I'm going to be gently flipping it on the other side. Then the other half of the lemon, I'm going to be squeezing that on top. The rest of the margarine I used, I'll be adding it now. So I'm just going to place this on top of the meat. So this is going to be cooking also on this side for another 5 minutes, then we'll be flipping. So let's go to check on our plantain. So as you can see now, our plantain is done and ready to be mashed. So how you know this is when you put your fork, it just goes right through. I'll take it off the heat, drain this hot water, run it under some cool water and just allow it to cool for like a minute. So I've run the plantain under cold water, and it's still hot, but at least it's touchable. You can work with it. So what I do is take off the skin. So it is easier to take off the skin this way than when it is raw. Okay, so now I have my plantain removed. So what I'll be doing now is mashing this. I have my masher here. So I'm going to be mashing this halfway before adding in my golden penny spread to it. And I'll be mashing further and adding the cream also. Okay, so I've mashed a bit now. Now I'll be turning on the heat and adding in my golden penny spread and my cooking cream, and then I'll mash some more. Now I'll be taking off the meat from the heat, and I'll just be letting it rest in this plate for about 5 minutes, and we'll be bringing it back to cook further for another 5 minutes. For people who like their meat cooked medium rare or rare, this is good enough. But I love to cook my meat till it's properly done. So that's why I'm leaving this to rest for 5 minutes, and then I'll be returning it back to the heat to cook some more. So I'll be adding my golden penny spread to my mashed plantain on heat, this much, and another scoop because I want it very creamy. I'm going to keep mashing this. So when you add the spread, it makes it easier to mash. So I've mashed this for a bit. Now I'll add in my cooking cream and mash some more. So here I have the cooking cream. So mashing takes about 5 to 8 minutes, depending on the quantity and on the texture you're going for. This is mashed the way I want it. So for the final touches, I'll be adding 1 last scoop of golden penny spread, some more cooking cream, some garlic. I have here 3 garlic cloves. I'll just be adding that in there. Some black pepper powder and some salt. So we're just going to give this 1 last mash and we'll be turning off the heat. This smells so good, guys. The aroma is so good with the garlic and the black pepper and the spread, the cream, everything just works together. This is the consistency I want, but if you want just creamier, you can just go ahead and add more cooking cream. So I'll just be turning off the heat. So now we'll be returning our steak back on heat. It has rested for about 5 minutes, so I'll be returning it back and allowing it to cook for another 5 minutes before we then serve. Gently add this back on heat. To blanch our veggies, I'll be adding some water to pot, salted water, and I'm just going to allow it boil. And once that boil, I'll be adding in the veggies and just allow that blanch for 2 minutes before I take it off the heat. Here's the water I'll be using to blanch my vegetable. So what I'll be doing is I'll be adding a bit of salt, not too much, and then I'll be adding some baking soda. So the reason why I'm adding baking soda is to retain the color and the brightness of the vegetable even after blanching, because after blanching vegetable it tends to change color to a duller color, so this helps to retain that sharp color. So I'm just going to allow this to boil. Once it starts boiling, we'll be adding in our chopped vegetables and just allow it blanch for 2 minutes. So our meat has been cooking for about 5 minutes now. So what I want to do is just bath this with some of the oil. So next we'll be flipping this and allowing it to cook on this other side for the last 5 minutes, and we are done. We'll be leaving this to cook for 5 minutes, and after 5 minutes we'll be taking it off the heat, and then our steak is ready to be eaten. So our water for blanching the vegetable is boiling already, so I'll be adding in the veggies. So I'm going in first with the broccoli. So next I have the carrots, and lastly the peas. I'll be in there. So now I'm going to turn off the heat and cover this for just 1 minute. So our meat is done. It's cooked on the other side for 5 minutes, and this is ready. The next is we'll be draining our vegetable from this water and sauteing it in the same pan we used in grilling the meat, because we want all that extra flavor in them. So here I have my blanched vegetable. I drained them from the water. As you can see, it retains that very bright color. You can see I'm using the same grill pan I used for my steak, and I just cleaned it up a bit, but I still have some of the seasoning in there, some of the flavor. So I'm just adding in a little bit of golden penny soya oil. So once that is heated, I'll just be tossing in my veggies, seasoning it with some black pepper, some salt, and some seasoning powder. Just saute for just 1 minute, and I'll be taking it off. So I'm adding in my steamed veggies in here, some black pepper. So I'm using just one seasoning cube for this. A little bit of salt, not so much. So I'm just going to toss this around in the pan. So you want to do this on high heat, that way the heat is hot enough, and it just helps to char your vegetables quicker and easier. So our food is ready. Now it's time to serve them and enjoy this sumptuous, delicious and healthy meal.